Why in the world was this movie made?
So yeah, we're talking about Mission Impossible. I mean, we're all done. 6 movies. Did you guys
until the new one comes out next year?
Right, and we'll have to do a special episode
after.
for that when that comes out. Yeah, whenever year they decide to release that, when this world comes back online. Okay,
yep.
So we watched 6 movies. Were there any takeaways that you guys had? Like, any feelings that you were surprised by? You thought something was going to go one way and then it went another or something? Or was it pretty much on point? Like you thought this was going to go exactly how it did?
I liked it a little bit better than I thought I would, actually.
You have the most unique perspective because you hadn't seen half the movies.
And I think part of why I hadn't seen them is that I was unwilling to be disappointed and maybe unfairly thought that I would be disappointed. And I wasn't really disappointed, and that's good.
Wow, insightful.
Deep stuff. I mean, I do feel like by Rogue Nation and Fallout, we were talking a lot about the series as a whole. So we've kind of wrapped up certain parts of this, talking about like sort of the evolution from this auteur-driven movie franchise to more of a formula that they found out what works and sort of leaned into it. So I think we covered a lot of that already on the regular episodes, but I will say that like it was a different experience watching them in such close succession, one after the other, where you could really see the jump from movie to movie and how it kind of evolved into what it became, and how it started off very strong, I thought, for something that wasn't as critically acclaimed as I remember it being. But I thought the first one was, and it's always been my favorite, but definitely not what the franchise became at all. It isn't really what a Mission Impossible movie is, and neither is the second one. And then slowly you start to see them kind of coalesce all these different ideas and styles and stuff into what it eventually was. So it was interesting to sort of see it growing up movie after movie into what it became and what it is now.
I know one of my takeaways is that Mission Impossible 2 does not get enough credit. I mean, sure, it's the bad one or whatever, but I thought Ghost Protocol was worse. It definitely didn't have as much Ving Rhames, and that is important. And you know what? 2 was fun, and Tandy Newton's great, and Anthony Hopkins, come on.
I feel like you didn't love 2 as much during the show. What did you rate 2? You gave it a 7.
Like a 7.
I guess that's pretty high.
7's
which is
good.
Very low for Colin. No, that's very low for you. That's like your lowest score. I gave 2 a 7 as well, which was much higher than I thought it would be. So like I went into it thinking that 2 was going to be a total turd because I'd seen it a few times and never enjoyed it. And for some reason this time I kind of accepted it for what it was, which is not a great Mission Impossible movie and not a great John Woo movie, but kind of a passable version of both. Like not the worst John Woo movie or Mission Impossible. Well, it is the worst Mission Impossible movie, but that's a high bar.
I'm going to do what you do to me when I give my honest opinion, which is that you're wrong. Your opinion doesn't matter. This movie sucks.
Yeah, I respect that.
Mission Impossible 2 is a piece of hot trash, and you guys are both stupid.
It's one of the most interesting ones to think about and talk about.
No, it is
I'd
not.
say.
It is interesting. It is interesting.
Like it's it's interesting as an artifact rather than a
right, exactly.
Actual,
it's so much of its time.
Actual cinema, yeah.
It's interesting in the way that like you ever take like a really big dump and then you stand up to like flush it, but you look at it and you're like, wow, it's really interesting looking.
It's interesting. Is that a fingernail? What's going on? No, I think. Well, I mean, as a huge John Woo fan,
fingernail.
As a huge John Woo fan, it is like probably his second best American movie. And it's probably it's like middle of the road for his films. And I kind of enjoyed it on that level. As a Mission Impossible movie, it's really disappointing on almost every level. You know, like it's definitely the worst of the Mission Impossible movies. But it's a half decent John Woo movie, which is why I kind of enjoyed it. Like when I stopped thinking about it as the sequel to this amazing movie and part of this incredible franchise and just started thinking about it like, is it terrible? It's watchable for a John Woo movie. It's just terrible for a Mission Impossible movie.
So Mission Impossible 2 was our lowest scored film. It had a total of 6.12 points based on our averages that we gave, the three of us, plus our guest for that show, Jacob Strick. So let's talk about the next up on the list. Number 5 is Ghost Protocol with a total of 7.25 points.
I think it's worse.
I don't want to.
You think it's
I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but when I saw this list and how the rankings all averaged out point by point, it's the exact list I would have made of the order of these movies. So I think we totally nailed this. But yeah, I do think that
that's just proof that you're constantly trying to manipulate what's happening.
Yes, that may be accurate. No, actually, no. I mean, when I looked at my scores in these, I thought all my scores in these were what I would give them. But I think you guys actually balanced it out, I think, in a good way, too. I didn't think Ghost Protocol was worse than Rogue Nation, but I absolutely agree that it's only slightly better. I mean, Ghost Protocol is worse than
MI2.
Mission Impossible 2, but I do think it's only slightly better, and I think all the complaints about it that you had, Colin, were valid. So, yeah, I get it. I think this is the right spot for it. It was kind of just a mess, you know? It was a mess because it was sort of finding itself. It was like a transitional phase.
Yeah, it created the whole like set piece thing of like now these movies have to have like an order of set pieces, you know, with the big like stunt. I mean, that stunt sequence kind of saves it, and that it's like sort of it's a fun movie, you know, like they lightened it up a bit, and I think that a lot of people dug that, including most of us.
It's got its flaws, but it moved quick and it had its fun moments. And the other thing that I think it's interesting because it's a good parallel with Mission Impossible 2, because Mission Impossible 2 was like they had to make mistakes in that one so that they could come back in Mission Impossible 3 and correct them. And I felt like Ghost Protocol had a ton of mistakes that they like learned a lot from and made a much better movie to follow it.
So moving on up the list, in 4th place is Mission Impossible 3 with an average of 7.62 points.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is doing a lot.
Yeah, you know, MI3 and Ghost
he's
Protocol,
the
they're like kind of neck and neck for me. But
Yep.
I feel like, yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman, and there's just something about MI3 that kind of works. It's like a better action movie or something. I don't know. Maybe because of the seriousness of it, it elevates it as opposed to Ghost Protocol, which is a little more fun, like we said.
When I try to think back on, remembering the movies, I think about things I did not like about Ghost Protocol, but I immediately think about liking Philip Seymour Hoffman in the
Three.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I feel like Ghost Protocol, I think of these, I think of things I like in Ghost Protocol, but it's these set pieces that I'm like, oh, that was pretty cool. Oh, that was okay. Oh, that kind of worked. With MI3, I think about scenes that I'm just like, oh, I wish I could watch that Philip Seymour Hoffman bathroom scene again. Oh, I wish I could watch the scene where he's counting down from 10 again. Oh, I wish I could, there's just I think that's what it did well. It did a lot of those interstitial scenes that were stringing the set pieces together. Even it doesn't even have that many memorable set pieces. It literally is just the stuff that connects them is actually better than in most of the other movies, and that's mostly because of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Yeah, and it added the whole wife thing, and I don't know, gave a little more emotional stakes, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the opening scene where he's at the cocktail party is I love that scene too, where he's at the house party or whatever, and I think there's great moments in that I would totally. And when he's the attack on the bridge, there's really good moments.
Are you talking about the scene where he's still pretending to be working at the DMV?
Yeah, exactly. And the guys are rolling their eyes because he's so boring. I love that. I love those scenes. And he's got to throw the ice out so he can go get ice.
I wouldn't think that scene would be brought up in our big recap, but I guess it has
But
to be.
it stands out. Like, that's like the thing. It's not the big stunts that stand out in Mission Impossible 3. It's like the little moments that they got right. It's like, it's the J.J. Abramsy things that they did right about it,
Yeah, Aaron
Except
Paul
for that
is
last
in there.
scene where they're all clapping as they walk away.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah,
Oh, my God. Oh, bad.
Third up on our list is Mission Impossible Fallout, the most recent entry with 8.25 points. Yeah, that's one of my favorite ones. I'm glad it's in the top 3. I'm surprised it's number 3. I thought it would be higher for me personally, but yeah, it's a solid flick.
Well, you rated that a perfect 10. So obviously
it's great.
Yeah. I was kind of surprised that our guest rated it a 7. She rated it a 7, and Colin rated it a 7. And I thought I was being mean, giving it an 8. But I kind of I think there's valid complaints about it, and I think it was a lot of spectacle. At the same time, I gave it an 8. I enjoyed the movie, but it just definitely wasn't my fave.
You know what I've been noticing a lot, even in any of the ones that we've had the guest usually rates almost the same as me, like a high percentage of the time. And
that's
no
funny
matter what order we go in.
After the show's done, the guest usually texts me and is like, "Wow, that Colin is such an idiot." It's weird. I wasn't going to tell you that, but I think it's maybe a coincidence.
You're right, Colin. I'm looking. The last 3 movies, you had the same score as the guest, and
the one we did,
and the very first one
tonight, or I mean, the one we did that one time. Same thing happened.
Huh.
I think maybe it's because the guest, like Colin, doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings, so they just rate it too high most of the time.
Well, I didn't quite hear you. It sounded like you said
isn't true.
Maybe
at
it's
all.
because the guest liked Colin. Is that what you said?
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
That is probably true. Colin's probably the most likable.
Number 2 on our list is Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, the 5th movie in the series with a total of 8.75 points.
I agree with this placement. I think this is appropriate. I mean, this is like one of the, I knew this would be 1 or 2, it didn't surprise me. I mean, I kind of thought Fallout would get rated higher, even though I don't think it's better than the 2 at the top of our list, but I felt like this should be 1 or 2, and it is about as good as you can make a Mission Impossible movie. And it's the archetype. It's like what you're aiming for. Now that we know what a Mission Impossible movie is, this is it. This is what Fallout is trying to replicate. This is what I assume the new movies will try to replicate as close as they can.
Here's the burning question on everyone's mind is, if the James Sandwich character takes off, will there be a sequel in that franchise, James Sandwich Hogue Nation, or is abbreviating Hoagie to just Hogue make it not mean sandwich anymore? That's what everyone's really asking.
Wow.
Anybody who isn't a diehard fan that's been listening to all of our Bondcasts has no idea what the fuck you're talking. Like you not only made an obscure and tortured pun that took way too long and had very little payoff, but it's like a reference to something that nobody even knows what James Sandwich is, unless they've listened to like almost all of our Bondcast episodes. I am sorry to anybody who's listening to this. This is terrible. But really,
Goodbye,
long live
Goodbye.
James Sandwich.
Long live James Sandwich. He's a spy. He's a sandwich.
All right, and at the
He's a
top of our
spy witch.
list, yeah, he's a spy witch. He's a man witch.
He is a man witch.
At the top of our list is the very first entry into the series, 1996's Mission Impossible. It's that year, guys, 1996.
96 versus 82. The pod. We gotta do it.
We all ranked this movie a 9, and so it averaged out to 9 whole points.
And my only regret, like the only ranking that I felt like I got wrong, is this is really a 10 for me. Every time I watch this movie, I just think it's perfect. So in retrospect, I'm glad it turned out number 1, because if it had missed and it was because I didn't give it a 10, I would have felt terrible. It's just it's not the archetypal Mission Impossible movie, but it's just a really well-made movie.
Yeah, it feels like it's got more thriller elements to it, and it's a little it feels like this is a spy movie to me. You know, like
Yeah.
now our definition of a spy movie is something different, and it like requires more set pieces and action and that sort of thing. But and they still have
Explosions.
deception and whatever. Yeah, explosions.
Yeah.
But this is a little more cerebral, and I think the three of us all kind of appreciate that.
And
for
it
what
did
is.
have explosions and set pieces. I mean, the break-in at the CIA vault is the most iconic scene in this entire franchise.
Yeah.
And the train sequence at the end that's no slouch either. That's pretty fucking badass, and there's a huge explosion. So, this is the GOAT.
Yeah, it could have had John Voight being the same character from Varsity Blues, but you know, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I don't know. Anyways, so yeah, I do believe that we nailed this. We nailed this ranking somehow, despite ourselves. We totally got this right.
I think you know, in retrospect, I'm glad we chose this series to launch our rebranding of License to Watch, and I think it's a pretty solid movie franchise. You know, it really, like, it takes a little dip for MI2 and kind of the MI3, MI4 like area, but it's picking up speed, and there's not many movie franchises that can fall and then rise higher than what they were before. You know, like it's
kind of clawed its way back up into relevance.
All right, so we're having some technical difficulties. We lost everyone here, but that's pretty much it. Our summation of the Mission Impossible series is just that, and it's come to a close. So I hope you guys enjoyed listening to us break it down as much as we did. The big surprise, of course, is that our next series we're about to start is the original Star Trek series. That's the original 6 movies in the series, not the J.J. Abrams reboot, and not the Next Generation films. However, if you are a Patreon subscriber, you will be treated to our continuing analysis of the Star Trek series, because we'll be doing the Next Generation films there, all 4 of them. So yeah, that's what we've got coming up, and we'll see you guys there. So thanks for listening.